You're listening to the Cantina Cast, your home for thought-provoking Star Wars talk. Join Albert and Jonesy in breaking down the latest news, trailers, movies, and of course, your favorite characters from a galaxy far, far away.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cantina Cast. My name is Albert Padilla, and this is episode 380, Infested. It's an episode that I think has caused quite a bit of stir in the Star Wars community, and I think, for the most part, we're starting to see a trend where people tend to fall on either two sides of the fence or two sides of the line, or however you want to talk about that. And we're going to get into a lot of the reasons why, and maybe provide a light of hope as to what to expect coming up here the rest of the season and in season 2. And speaking of A New Hope, please welcome to the show, as always, Mr. Jonesy. Jonesy, welcome. How are you, sir?
Doing well, man. You had me on the edge of my seat that you were ever going to come on the air. I was like, come on.
I was, yeah. I've still got a lot of junk in the back of my throat and drainage, and no, that sounds disgusting. I shouldn't even be talking about that, but it's been like a week long, and so I felt like a cough was coming on. I didn't want to come on there and just be like, "Hello, everybody." So I decided to just wait and let it pass.
Hey, you were just impersonating Alfonso. That's all right.
Alfonso. They have names, by the way.
I know you put them in the show notes.
I did. So I was tired of talking about Cliff and Alfonso and all that. But if you're joining us for the first time tonight, welcome. We appreciate you guys being here on the live show. Thank you all for joining and signing in. Make yourself known, your presence known. You can put whatever you want in the chat there. If it's appropriate, we'll throw it up on the screen. And even if it's not appropriate, we may throw it up on the screen. So sure. You just never know. But we've got a lot to talk about, man. There is, so we've got some pretty substantial news that came our way. And then we've got an episode that I definitely want to spend some time kind of dissecting and parsing out some of the stuff that I think people are certainly latching onto and kind of speaking out loud about. But right. Let's start with the news. And let's start with the High Republic, because that was, they were
your day finally came.
I know. They've been talking about this for a while. For about the last 2 weeks, they've been kind of hinting that something was coming. It got confirmed late last week. The official announcement went out, and then if you weren't available, if you didn't know, Friday they announced the next 4 titles for Wave 3 of Phase 1. And just quickly on these, we've got Fallen Star by Claudia Gray. That is the full-length sequel to The Rising Storm, right? This is the third major novel. Then you've got Mission to Disaster by Justina Ireland, which is a mid-grade novel, and mid-grade meaning it's for ages 8 to 12. So still within what she was doing with Test of Courage, and same thing with Race to Crash Point Tower that Holder was doing. Then you've got Midnight Horizon by none other than Daniel Jose Older, and that is a young adult novel. So that's ages 13 to 18. And finally, which I know you're probably super excited about, but I have this, and I think everyone is, but I have The Storm by Charles Soule, and this is a Disney comic that is going to be 2 issues, about 30 pages long. So this is technically a 4-issue limited series kind of thing.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and all of this hits starting in January of 2022, which seems like forever away. We've got a lot of Star Wars still to talk about between now and then. There's certainly a lot of things coming from the High Republic that we can talk about. But what are you most excited? I mean, obviously, Eye of the Storm. But what did you think about the announcement and some of the details? I mean, well, there weren't a lot of details. Let's be honest. But it was still pretty entertaining. I was pretty excited throughout, obviously. But how did you feel watching it?
No, the same way. And Wave 3, this closed out Phase 1, right? So Phase 1 will be closed out, early mid next year, and we'll be on to the next stage, right? This is super exciting. I think it's really cool to see how many stories we're going to get, and just how structured they are, and the same authors just kind of getting reshuffled in the different ones. So we still get different aspects of their creative writing and the way that they tell stories. But it's really cool that we keep getting them mixing with the age groups, and that each of the stories has their own gravity and weight to them and importance to it. And I think that's a lot of fun. And Fallen Star is, of course, super interesting. And you and I were talking a little bit about this when the news came out of who is the Fallen Star at this point, right? And there's a handful of people you could throw out there, anywhere from Chancellor Soule to any number of a few Jedi, and so or even the Beacon itself. I mean, so there's a lot of there's a lot of things you could throw out there and really speculate on. And the authors are having a good old time with this, though. They just absolutely love the material and love each other, and it really comes across when they're in interviews. But they also like to toy with us just a little bit too. but
Yeah.
Eye of the Storm. So that's Marquis Rowe, and once again, Charles Soule confirmed it's Marquis on. Regardless of what our good buddy Mark Thompson likes to say in the audiobooks, where he continues to say Marcion Rowe.
Yeah.
Which actually, he's not the only one though. So
no, there's some diehard, like, I don't care what Mr. Soule says, I'm calling it Marcion. So
right, they're probably calling him Charles Soule too at the same time. But,
oh well, that's me. I can't get his name right.
Well, it's just your Midwestern stuff coming out, but yeah, I mean, it's going to be focused on Marcion Rowe and where he comes from and why he is the way he is, and the way that he described Marcion is definitely how he's been coming across. And you had a nice quote in here from Charles Soule. I'll let you read through that.
Yeah, he says he's absolutely terrifying, Soltis. He's charming in a way. You'll meet him, he'll talk to you, and you'll have a good time. Maybe he'll buy you a beer, a space beer, I guess. But then, the minute you leave the room, his face goes blank. It's all just a mask. And it's just that, I mean, and that's exactly right. I mean, that's, if you've read the books and you've seen the character, it's almost, it's hard to peg him in terms of where he is or what he's like, outside of just unpredictable, right? He can be very charismatic. He can seem like he's thinking about you and hoping the best for you. And next thing you know, he's stabbing you and asking you, how does it feel, kind of thing. I mean, it's just bizarre. Yeah. Not to tease anything from the Rising Storm, but it's he is a very complicated character. He is I think Soule's done a great job so far with the character, and getting the backstory on this is going to be so prime, because we've had so many clues from the Santecas to his father and the different types of masks and how he came into power. I mean, all these come to question as the novel's going out without any answers. Right. And I don't know how much they're going to be able to kind of cram into 60 pages of a comic book, but anything is going to be awesome, and I'm pretty excited about it myself.
Right, yeah, and you put the nail on the head without teasing too much. Charles Soule is basically talking about the opening sequence with Marcion Rowe in Rising Storm, and to a T.
Yeah.
And so if you're curious what he's talking about, please go read Rising Storm, and it's in the first third of the book there, and you'll get through that part pretty quickly, and you'll know exactly what he's referencing, and it's absolutely spot on too and perfect. But these guys are rolling, man, and they're having a blast doing it, which I think is I think that's half the fun too, is seeing how much enjoyment they have out of it, how much they love talking about. Kevin Scott still can't stop talking on Twitter. This guy is just this guy just loves to interact with people and retweet and everything. I know you guys have exchanged a couple things, and he's super engaged. He's a really cool guy to really just kind of be out there and follow and watch, much less interact with it all. But
yeah, he posted something, not to fanboy on Kevin Scott, which I'm really starting to like a lot more. But he posted a picture today of him, like a younger him, sitting there reading. I think it was an X-Men comic or New Mutants or something. He's kind of lounging back in the chair, reading the comic book. On the left-hand side, there's a Castle Grayskull, which I thought you would appreciate.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that just kind of, I said, this pretty much speaks volumes in terms of, who he is, because you can tell this is really close to his chest, and he's enjoying what he's doing right now.
Yeah, you guys were talking G.I. Joe, I think, at one point or something.
Yeah, well, that's a Tarek and Serret reference to G.I. Joe, and that'll be in the comic book. So I've already got the issue 2 for the Patreon members. I've got it recorded, and now all I'm doing is putting on the video stuff behind it. But I will get into what that is a little bit, and I will bring up the conversation I had with Kevin Scott in that video as well. So, but I do, before we move up past this, I do want to just get your thoughts. I know you mentioned the Fallen Star. I'm kind of in the same boat. Like, too many times in Star Wars, the names of things have very multiple meanings. Sometimes 2, sometimes even 3 meanings, just depending on your certain point of view, right? And for the Fallen Star, I'm with you. Like, it does feel like the Fallen Star could be the Starlight Beacon. We talked about Starlight Beacons being destroyed. I think when we were doing Light of the Jedi or something, we were talking about that, because they're not around now, right? So at some point, these things have to go down. They are a big representation of what the High Republic is and what the Republic is during this era, the Jedi, all of that. They're very much a symbol and an idol, an icon of what that is. And whether it's Marcion Rowe or the new presence of a Sith that's coming on very soon here, or Drengir themselves, whatever, that is a big thing to kind of take down, right? So that could be very well the Fallen Star. But then for me, the first thing that came to mind was somebody like Avar Chris. Like if I had to make any of the characters right now based on what we know up until, well, even Out of the Shadows, which I know doesn't come out until Tuesday, right? If you take all the characters and what we know about all the characters, the one character you would think would just be impervious to being churned or falling would be Avar Chris. Stellan Gios is probably in there as well.
He's pretty close second.
He's pretty close, yeah. I mean, especially with given what because we didn't get much of him in Light of the Jedi, and he's in some of the other later stuff. But that would be the one person that I would think would be the most obvious, only because it's hard to get there with her. Like, how do you even get to that point where you would, she would fall? But like you said, there are a number of people. I didn't even think about Chance Rousseau. I think that's a great idea because there have been signs that she's maybe not all what we think she is, and
she's got contentious relationships too, right?
Sure,
and,
yeah.
I think some of that can't be underscored. Can't be, and her responsibility with Rising Storm. I mean, gosh, we got to talk about this soon so we can stop being so beating around the bush with it. But the decisions she made in Rising Storm are having lasting consequences now in the galaxy, and her, the way that people view her is different.
Yeah.
Very different in positive and negative ways.
Sure.
But yeah.
So. Yeah. And she's, well, okay. No, we're not going to talk about that.
I know. It's
but
so hard though.
I want to get your thought. Do you have any thoughts around the other title names like Mission to Disaster? I mean, that could be anything really, but.
Yeah. Well, and I think they're these exciting titles, right? Race to Crash Point Tower. They're very consistent with some of that is. And we've seen it too, Out of the Shadows, Into the Storm, or, we've seen these concentrations and these, themes, I guess, if you will, of these titles that seem to be streamlined a bit. So
yeah,
they're falling in line with that. But the other titles, I can't really put a whole lot. I love the title Midnight Horizon, though. I think that's just a cool title.
That is a band that I used to follow in the 60s, and they are amazing. If you've ever had a chance.
You weren't around in the 60s.
I'm kidding. They're not a band either, but it does sound like a band. Like, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Midnight Horizon. Yeah? No?
Yeah.
Maybe. No, but that title sounds pretty. I think that's like my favorite sounding title. Although Fallen Star, I mean, I don't know, Claudia Gray, Fallen Star, Lost Star. She's all about the stars,
right?
But yeah, there's and then of course Eye of the Storm. I mean, all these titles are pretty exciting. There's really not a whole lot more to say about them because they did not give us many details beyond just the titles themselves and when they would come out. I thought the Comic-Con video itself was about 30 minutes long. I thought it did a pretty good job of engaging anybody who was up to date or maybe just getting up to date, and even the people that weren't there. Like that whole Charles Soule segment was all about, hey, if you're new to the High Republic, here's what to expect. I mean, they were asking some very basic questions that for us now it's just kind of general knowledge. But I thought it was good on them to at least acknowledge that there are still a lot of people who have not touched the High Republic, and they really need to at this point, especially with the Rising Storm coming out. Yeah. And I thought he did a really good job of just kind of laying down the basics and selling here's why you should invest some time into this, or at least give it a chance beyond just one book too.
Right. I mean, and this is our Star Wars for the next year or two. This is the primary. This is where it is. I mean, this is going to be the one thing that's consistent across what you're going to see every single month. New content coming out, whether it's a comic book or various books and things like that. This is it. So if you're into Star Wars and you don't want the gaps in the other things, picking up the books and all the other material is worth your time, and it's good. It's really good. It got off to kind of a I'll call it a slower start, but it was a good start. But it was just you had a lot to ramp up on, and we had talked extensively about Light of the Jedi and kind of what it took to get on board with everything. And but this is Star Wars for a while until some of the TV shows really develop and whatnot. And so I think this is where people hopefully will take the time and read a book or listen to a book.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to talk about the
the one that made a huge stir.
And it continues to make a stir. And
false advertising and headlines. Yeah.
Headline. I mean, it's just kind of gotten out of hand. So what we're talking about here is the San Diego Comic-Con commissioned piece of art that was done by Russell Walks, and he titled this piece called "Size Not Matters," and it's a picture of Grogu
Can we throw that up on the screen?
I'm going to pull that up right now.
Okay,
why don't you walk us through that, and I'll pull this up real quick here.
Right. Yeah. So it's a beautiful piece of artwork, by the way. So it's got Luke. It's young Luke. He's in his brown robes though, and Grogu is with him, and they're both using the Force. But Grogu has a paw, a hand, a claw. I don't know what it is. Hand up in the air. Looks like he is assembling a lightsaber. He's got suspending a lightsaber in air, and then Luke has what appears to be a kyber crystal in front of him that is yellow, and man, just really sparks the imagination. But it has really, this has really gotten people excitable here, because they are saying that this is, it's a official Lucasfilm art, type of thing, and we don't see any proof to that quite yet.
Well, it is. So it's an official piece of art. It's been commissioned by Lucasfilm for sale. And by the way, I did buy this. It's like $20. Okay. I bought a copy of it because I just wanted to frame it and throw it up. I thought it's a gorgeous piece of art. But this is not uncommon, right? A lot of these big conventions, they do commission pieces and they sell them. And sometimes they could be things that, did this happen? Probably, right? Or something thereof. Maybe he did. If we are to assume that Grogu ended up building a lightsaber, who's going to teach him? It's going to be Luke, right? And were they posing for this moment? Who knows? It's very likely that this happened. The main takeaway here is that this is not uncommon for them to have artists go out and do these types of things, but they don't ever go anywhere, right? This is just a piece of art. It is just something for them to sell for $19.99 plus free shipping, which was kind of cool, and get people like me to buy. But it is very cool looking. I just don't want anybody to see this and go, oh my gosh, they're signaling, season 3 of The Mandalorian, or they're signaling what's coming up next. Is it possible? Sure, but that's not what the intent of this poster was. It was just a really cool piece of fan art, and it was amazing. The fact that he's got a yellow crystal was awesome too, because I'm thinking, man, that they don't use enough of the yellow. We've talked about that extensively in the show. But yeah, it was a great. It's a great piece of art. So again, $19.99. I forget where you go out and buy it, but go out and I think it's on the StarWars.com website if you want to go take a look at it.
I might have to go do that, because that looks sharp.
There is another one. They've got 2 of them out. So they did this one, and they had another guy, and I apologize for not having this one ready, but they did another one where it's I think it's Grogu and Mando, and he's holding the Darksaber, and then they've got other characters in all 4 corners as well. It's really slick. Don't get me wrong. It's just as good as this one in my opinion, but yeah, both of those are $19.99. So totally worth it.
Yeah, but again, why would they? They're not going to signal what the show is doing. They've kept so many things under wraps and so secretive with Mandalorian.
Oh right, yeah.
It would be out of character at the very least that they would announce something in this kind of way.
100%.
Finger quotes. Yeah.
This is not how Disney or Lucasfilm announce anything like this of this magnitude. It's going to come in a different way, but we can still hope and pretend it's just going to happen. Hey, before we go, I know you got a really quick announcement. I'm going to show you this because I know you'd appreciate that. Look what I bought over the weekend.
Ooh, that does look nice. He's holding up a variant of issue 1, or is that just a reprint?
No, it's the variant. It's just you can't see the green because of the green screen. It's kicking it out.
But it's Avar, Chris, and Yoda there. Yeah.
Yep. I paid a pretty penny for that one, but it's got my girl on there, so went ahead and did it. But
that's a cool post too. No, that's fantastic looking.
I got to post this so everybody can see it because I just can't stop staring at it. Okay, sorry, I had a moment there. I had a moment. But you've got some. I know you've got a gig coming up here. Do you want to kind of plug that real quick?
Yeah. So August 20th, if you're in the Chicagoland area, Stephanie actually threw together a thing at her brewery for a Star Wars trivia night. So August 20th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. That's a Friday. I know that's when school's starting to fire back up and stuff like that. But would love if people came out, had a beer. We're going to do trivia. We're going to have it for 3 different groupings of it. So you'll have kind of your Padawan stage, your Knight stage, and your Masters. We'll have some gifts if you win, and some other giveaways, including I think they're going to have brewery gift cards. We're going to have a food truck out there. We're going to have some little raffle giveaways. Some of the comics that we've got, we'll throw some of that in there. I think we've got some action figures and whatnot. So whatever we can kind of find, we'll throw some stuff together. Just have a fun night for a couple of hours. I think they've got a band after that. So if you want to hang out, it's a cool little place down there in Joliet. So again, if you're in the Chicagoland area, reach out to us over at cantinacastfanmail.com or at gmail.com rather, and we'll get you all the information. You can also check it out on our Facebook page. We've got it posted there as an event. So August 20th, but it'd be a lot of fun. I'm going to host the the trivia while Steph and all the other beer tenders take care of everyone on the drink front, and should be a lot of fun.
Cool. It sounds like fun. I wish I could be there. Dial me in if you can. I'll be happy to answer a question.
Actually, that would be kind of cool if we can live stream it.
Oh, no. Excuse me.
But it's going to be a lot of fun.
It is. I'm excited for you guys, and I know she's been putting a lot of work into her and your crew there have been putting a lot of work and research into the questions. So, be ready.
That's right. We can't let you off easy on the master side.
Yeah. All right. So, Steph, before we get into the show, Steph wants to open up this can of worms, and I've already thrown it up on the screen, but she's asking, I saw something about Disney casting actors for Ezra and Thrawn. Is that true? So I'll let you first take this one. Or have you heard about this?
This has come up more than once before, though.
Well, it has.
Is there something? I didn't see what was happening new, though.
Okay, I will take it. So first off, we don't normally talk about rumors and that stuff on the show. It's just been a long tradition that we don't. If we do, it's in the after shows or on Twitter, whatever, Facebook, Instagram, stuff like that. But I'm willing to entertain this one because it is very intriguing and interesting how many other Star Wars shows, YouTube channels, podcasts, websites, blogs, whatever, have picked this up and ran with it. So in case you didn't know, there is a website called LRM Online. LRM has posted I think they posted an article on their website, and then they followed up with some stuff on Twitter, basically saying, look, Ezra Bridger and Thrawn have been cast for a live action TV show. Again, to Jonesy's point, we've been talking about this for almost 2 years now. Ever since Rebels ended, we've been talking about this, and everybody from, just about everybody has been named for potential real life actors for these. However, these guys, they put all their chips in on this one, and they are claiming that this is 100%. I wouldn't say it's confirmed, but they're very confident from a good source that this is in fact true, that this has been who they've cast. Now, I'm not here to say whether or not it's true or not. I really don't get into this stuff because it's sometimes there's so many things that don't ever pan out for one way or another. Or there are some things that when these guys break this stuff, it's actually legit, but then it changes. And so, and then it drops for like 3-4 months, and then it comes back and everybody points the finger at them and says, you guys suck. You didn't know what you were talking about. So it's not really about that. It's just right now, it is a great rumor. If it is true, so that anybody would like to know, if it is true, then the actor of, I think it's Mena Massard, who was the guy that played Aladdin in the live action Disney remake Aladdin with Will Smith as a genie. He's who they're talking about as being cast as Ezra. Yeah. And for Thrawn, excuse me, it was, what's his name? The guy that does the voice for him in Rebels. Mickelson, or I'm drawing a blank on his name now.
Yeah, I don't remember either. It wasn't Corey Burton for that either, though, right?
No. Lars Mickelson.
Mads?
So
Lars or Mads?
Maybe it's Mads. I forget. They're brothers, aren't they?
I think they are. So I think it is Lars. Yeah.
Okay. I think it's Lars because Mads is the other one who's
he's
another.
He's more movie actor. Yeah,
he's the other one. It can't be this one because he's the other one. That sounded really great. But no, it is. So those are the two people that were out there. Those are the ones that they're saying are and they're claiming, hey, don't, this is all going to come out here very soon. Get ready for it. But again, it's been picked up by everyone now, and everybody's talking about it. So as a fan of Rebels, I couldn't be more excited if this is true. Is it true? I don't know. I can't confirm it. I did reach out to some folks that I know that have some inside stuff, and they all didn't know. I think if you look at some of the more common big player, I'm going to say big players, but people like Jason Ward or Bespin Bulletin or these guys that are normally have the big breaking news, they weren't aware of this either. So it could be legit that that these guys got this. If so, kudos to them. Or it could be just, again, like I said, it's maybe that's it right now, and it could change a little bit later. But all that's pretty exciting. What do you think if that was the case?
I mean, the casting seems to be on point. I remember I watched the Aladdin movie, and it was a little bit different. So not judging whether that movie was any good, but I thought, the kid actually has kind of a bit of he appears to look a little bit like Ezra. So I think that would be, from at least a visual standpoint, pretty good. I honestly don't really know Lars Mikkelsen that much, or what he looks like. So I don't really know. I know what Mads Mikkelsen looks like because he was Galen Erso, right? So, but that would be interesting. That'd be very interesting. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things. Like, are you ready to see Rebels on, live screen? I mean, we've seen
Yes.
Clone Wars on live screen. Okay, yeah, it was rhetorical, but all right. Yeah.
Sorry, I got excited there.
No, but people love Rebels. I mean, you and I have. I mean, we liked it. We have friends who are just absolutely on top of it, and they want more of it. And we all want to know what happened with Ezra and Thrawn, right? And where that went and where it's going. So. We're ready for that story to resolve itself. But again, even if they cast this stuff, even if that is true, I mean, we're still years away from actually having something produced out of that.
Yeah, no, we
visually.
are. I mean, sure. It's probably at least 2 years out, I would imagine.
I would think. Yeah, I would think.
At a minimum.
Yep.
Speaking of Rebels, I know we haven't even talked about the dang episode yet. I actually made the kids watch the Purgle episodes from Rebels because. And I'll bring this up as we're talking about this episode here in a little bit here, but I had them go back and watch The Call from, I think it's season 2, if I'm not mistaken, with the Purgle, where they kind of introduced them there. And then I made them watch the final episode again. And when I put it on, they're like, really? We're going to see this again? I'm like, yes, shut up, sit down, watch. You're going to watch this again. And showed them. And I thought, and this is after we had seen the most recent Bad Batch, Infested. Because they actually had some of the same questions I think a lot of people are asking is like, wait, what's going on here? Why are they showing this right now? And my point was that something like that, where you're 3 seasons apart, that episode, along with a number of other episodes from the Clone Wars, took a lot of flack, and people were saying this is just filler. It's garbage. We didn't need this, and blah 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 blah. And had we not had that episode, we wouldn't have had the payoff. Is it going to be something to that effect? Probably not, but I did make it a point to watch them. So sorry, on point, trying to tie this all back into Rebels and why we watch that. But we'll get back to that here in just a little bit because I do have a lot to say on that. Okay, let's
new Patreon member real quick.
Yeah,
Eric Rankins joined up on the Green Milk tier, so we appreciate it, Eric. Welcome to the group. And also, we had a kind of a public service announcement. So we didn't realize when we switched over to posting Patreon content with videos instead of the audio only. We did the video. Not thinking that, hey, for the people who subscribe to that in their podcast apps, you get nothing. So we are fixing that. You probably saw 3 shows get posted right at one another. So last week's Patreon show, as well as the 2 comic book episodes, we're extending kind of the tier extension. So everyone can hopefully enjoy those. And we'll start posting both the video and the audio. So if people are using the Patreon app, you get everything in there, video and audio. But if you're using iTunes or Overcast or whatever your favorite podcatcher is, you will get the audio. So apologies for that. We weren't aware. We didn't think about that part of it. So we have resolved that issue, and we'll make sure that going forward, you guys get everything you had. So apologize for the delay. If there's something you missed, and reach out to us, and we'll make sure you get some of that content. It's only been a 2 or 3, I think. So, but again, apologies for that. And thanks for the folks in Discord who let us know. We had 3 or 4, and they all chimed in and helped us out there. So we really appreciate it. You're on mute, buddy.
I was going to say, a lot of colorful language and really upset people, but thank you. Your voices have been, no, I'm kidding. Your voices have been heard. And my buddy JR is here. He's a great guy. He's helped me out on the basement many times. I listened to that show, and he asked me if I'm wearing a Star Trek shirt. No, buddy, sorry. It's Star Wars, unfortunately. Although I do have one, and I just wore it because it's matching my watch today. So, all right. And with that, hey, let's talk about the Bad Batch. So let me get your opening thoughts. I guess first off, it looks like we have yet another Dave Filoni bug episode. We had it, I think, in everything. We've had him in Clone Wars many times. We've had the spiders in Rebels. We had the spiders again in The Mandalorian, and here we go. We got more bugs in this episode. So tradition holds true here in this episode. But give me your overall initial thoughts, and I'll share all of mine, which I have like a page and a half here of.
Well, I'm trying to not say this was filler because, like you said before, we don't always know what purpose this is going to serve, and you and I we're probably a bit on the same page. Like the Roland Durand, there has to be a reason why they've introduced him into this, or the Durand family in general, rather than just getting Pikes on screen, that type of thing. But I thought the episode it was okay. It was entertaining, but yeah, it was very much a kind of a bug episode, or very
Monster of the Week.
Yeah, Monster of the Week, very tried and true formula, but It was. I think that the one thing that was interesting though is what it was cool, kind of getting an idea of what Ord Mantell really means, why it's so important. It's right in this junction of hyperspace lanes and everything else, and really, it was interesting how susceptible Sid's place is to just a hostile takeover. And I left with more questions though of why Duran just kind of bailed too after kind of this failed coup of sorts. But but yeah, I think it was. I mean, the other cool thing is we got more nicknames. So look out for the question of the week later on when we ask you which nickname that Sid has for the Bad Batch is your favorite, because we got at least one more. I think we got Tiny, we got Muscles now. So yeah, so we're accumulating a pretty nice group of them here. So be sure to respond on our social media when that comes out. But yeah, overall, I mean, it was okay. It was cool kind of seeing the ruthlessness of the Pikes, though. I didn't really feel like we got a great feel for them and some of the other content that we've had. And I think this one really did show their ruthlessness, though. And I wasn't sure what they were going to do at the end of the episode. I was like, "You're kidding me, right? We're doing this," and they just got a horn. But yeah, overall, okay. Nothing. I really didn't leave with like a certain impression of sorts. I wasn't super thrilled or excited. But I'm like, okay, clearly we've got 2 more episodes left or something like 3. Is it 2 or 3?
3 more episodes.
3 more. Yeah. So if there was gonna be one that was gonna be a little slower or more setup type stuff, we knew it was going to be this one and potentially the next one before we really jump into those last couple. But so I'll turn it over to you now, and I will go get a cup of water and stretch my legs, pop my back.
Just sit right back and you hear a tale of a thing. No. So, okay. Agreed. All right. I've heard a lot of things about this episode, and I will also agree. First off, agree with you that it was entertaining. I enjoyed it. There was certainly a lot here. If you're a fan of the cast and a fan of Sid, especially, I think this was her. I'm going to say really backstory, but there was some character development, at least for her, minor. But here's a couple things on the episode itself. And I'll put the filler piece out to the side, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. Which, by the way, just to kind of segue real quickly, in our Patreon episode tonight, we're going to be talking about Roland, the Underground. The title has been aptly named "Roland into the Underground" or something. Yep. So you're welcome for that. No apologies. And so we're going to talk in a lot more detail about that and potentially what we could expect from season 2. Because in my opinion, at this point, I do feel like there is a season 2. They've just all but confirmed it from here. But when you watch this episode, like, first off, this episode could have been anywhere after we were first introduced to Ruby. And I wonder if this was really where it was supposed to be originally, And I don't know if it was because, if you think about it, had they moved this episode, it would have to have come before the Ryloth 2-parter. And if they wanted a way to kind of break things up, right? Because you just went to 2 episodes of Ryloth, and then you're going to get into what I'm now hearing is 3 episodes. So the next 3 episodes are all connected together. Okay. And I've heard they're all like at least 30 minutes long, maybe even longer, which bodes well for us, especially because that gives them a lot of time to tie up a lot of loose ends here. Mm-hmm. But if that is truly the case, and this was an episode that was really meant to be 2-3 episodes before this, and they wanted to kind of break it up, I could see where they would do that. Now, did it work? I don't know. I don't think it did. Sometimes they make good decisions. Sometimes they don't. I mean, it was just a bad decision, or maybe not a bad one, but just it could have been a better decision. But if you take this episode, like I said, you can move it anywhere. Like, there's no outside of the connection to Ruby. Mm-hmm. You don't it doesn't even make sense to me to some extent, because it opens with them talking about them coming off a mission, and they just had this whole Ryloth thing, and they're talking about coming off another mission. So again, they've gone out and did more missions for Sid at this point. So it's very generic or general in that sense in the way it opens. And the way it ends, again, there's nothing outside of Roland that they need to wrap up or tie up, right? So again, it could have been anywhere. So my suspicion is that it was there, and they decided to move it in between these 2 to kind of break it up. So you've got the 2-parter Ryloth, you've got a little quick break, calm before the storm,
and then
they go, then they're going to go big, hot and heavy here with the next 3 episodes, and it's all going to be what we've been clamoring for over the last 12, and more about the Bad Batch and Crosshair and Operation, what was it?
Project War Mantle.
War Mantle, right? All this stuff is coming, and I think we're going to get a lot of it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this is one of those things where you have that breath. And I think you're right. This could have only one sentence in there. I think would say, okay, had to come a bit later was, everything I've done for you guys and that type of thing. So clearly they've built a bit of a history there, but yeah, it was a little disjointed though, them coming from another mission. And this has happened before. We've had a couple of episodes like this where they land to come back and we're like, oh, they're coming back from what we just saw in the previous episode. But no, there's been adventures in between already. But anyway, you were continuing on here.
Yeah. I was going to say that, so going back to, I think this does signal a season 2. I could be wrong. I mean, there could also be, there could be something in the next 3 episodes where they have to go back to Roland for some reason. I think it's too soon, to be honest, but it could very well, that could be the case. If not, then I think it is a clear indication that we are going to get a season 2, and where that season 2 goes is into the underground. That's my opinion. I posted on Twitter. I've got a whole thing on it. I've already got all these crazy theories as to where it's going to go, and this is a lot of the stuff that we're going to get into with the Patreon stuff. Steph says, I don't remember Ruby from before. Ruby was that little rolling around thing where Wrecker bumped his head and all that when they were stealing it. It was really a quick scene, to be fair, so I'm not going to hold that against you too much. That's Jonesy's job. So we've got that. The other thing I want to bring up about Roland, no, and I'll say that for the Patreon. It's a Filoni quote that came up not too long ago. But overall, again, the episode I thought was entertaining. It did feel out of place. I know there's a lot of feedback about, hey, the characters didn't really develop. Nobody developed, and that's probably fair. That's okay. But if you're a fan of, or an avid viewer of the Clone Wars, Rebels, Mandalorian to some extent, this is not uncommon, right? That we get some of these episodes like this where this happens and we don't know why, but there's probably a reason, and we've probably banged that drum way too much at this point about Filoni and kind of his overall grand plan and a lot of this stuff. And sometimes it doesn't happen till 2-3 seasons, and sometimes your shows get canceled, and when they come back, you were able to fulfill those plans. And
you do all the plans then.
You do all the plans. So I think overall though, it was a very dark, and I don't mean that I felt like it was a visually dark episode, which I thought was awesome. And if I'm just going to blanket some other cool stuff about it, again, the freaking animation was amazing in this.
The lighting was off the charts. Yeah.
Dude, it was crazy. Like when they're in the dark, and I know this sounds like, I don't know, it may sound trivial, but it's very hard to find, if you're a fan of computer graphic animation, being able to do the particle effects in the light, like when they're with the flashlight, torches, as we say in Star Wars, I guess. But when they've got the flashlights, torches, and you've got the light, just the way the shadows and everything plays around. I mean, it extends all the way throughout the entire scene in the caverns and when they're at. But then just the little particles of light and lint and everything else that's floating, you get to see all of that. I mean, they just did an amazing job with the animation. I forget, I think it was Rick Palis or one of the guys that's normally on here had said that, hey, he felt like this animation was getting even better. And yeah, I would agree. Like, it seems like they have gotten, better and better using the tools that they use to animate this stuff. So that was one big takeaway that I thought was great, as well as the sound. Like, this is like Ben Burt level type stuff that they're doing now with all the screeching and the eerie sounds and stuff. It's a very different experience for me as I'm watching on my iPad. And then when I throw these headphones on and I'm watching, I mean, it's a whole different experience. There's so much stuff that I'm missing.
So many details in there, even little clicks, like when he, Wrecker bangs the flashlight against the, the railing or wherever the car was. You get all sorts of just little details. It's fantastic. I love it when they do that type of thing, though.
Yeah. So, from a technical perspective, I think the show was top notch. I mean, this is about as good as it gets for animation right now, in my opinion. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, let's talk about it. I mean, there's still quite a bit in here to kind of discuss and dissect a little bit. Did it have lasting, is it going to have a lasting effect on this season? Probably not. But I think we'll look back on this, probably next year and talking about, okay, that's why. Here's why we had Roland now.
Yeah. Is this the first time we've had Roland Durant, or he's come up before?
No. This is the first time we've ever had him. We've had the name.
We've had the Durant name come up.
Well, we've had Durant. Rio Durant.
I thought we heard the Durant family though
Solo.
Before.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I could be wrong. Star Wars is getting to the point where it's so big that it is kind of hard to keep track of all the characters when they come.
Yeah, everything sounds familiar all of a sudden. It's like, okay, do we have that yet? Or I don't know.
Now, to my knowledge, I don't think we have. Somebody wants to fact check this, please do so.
Yeah, they sure played up the family, the Issa Durand, and this potentially competitiveness between the crime organizations or the crime families and things like that. Yeah, which I think that definitely could be having some sort of payoff in the future. And quite honestly, that seems to make a lot of sense, right? We know the Hutts are largely in control. But,
yes.
Yeah.
Patreon. I'm telling you, we're gonna talk about all that. I got all kinds of notes on that stuff.
And full hat included.
I still kind of make that hat so we can wear it while we do our Patreon episodes. That would be hilarious. Okay, or maybe I'll just take one of these and put foil around it. Let's get into the episode, and at this point we're going to break down the episode and really kind of talk about a lot of it. So as though we're watching it. And this one opens up. They're coming back again from another generic mission. It was not the Ryloth mission. Right. It seems like they would have talked about that a lot more. But this one was, well, for a fact, I know that is because they say they were something about Gundarks. Right. Which I want to see that mission. Like I want to see them fighting Gundarks. So those guys are not, pushovers by any means. So exciting that they were doing something there. Right. And they're making their way back through the city. Ord Mantell looks amazing as usual. Can't get enough of how this place looks, and it really just kind of hits home that whole the scene. We talked about this last episode too, or 2 episodes ago, about that line of the bounty hunter ran to on Ord Mantell. I mean, all this really just kind of helps build and flesh that out a lot more. But they're coming back, and we see guards around there. There's Pikes walking in Sid's bar. Hey, wait 1 second. I want. I'm not drinking coffee tonight. It's just water. But there was one character. I'm going to pull this up. I'm not going to pull it up on the episode to talk about. But there's a scene. And the camera is panning from left to right. And it's just before they go into Sid's bar. Mm-hmm. And there's a character that is sitting, or standing, I should say. They're standing there against the pillar. They're in shadow. And they're almost like they're listening and looking and watching and listening to the Bad Batches are walking by and heading into Sid's bar. Mm. And call me crazy. But he's in the frame, and he's in the shot, and he's in there almost like a cameo, almost like they threw him in there to kind of tease that we're going to see this character again. Did anybody else catch this, or am I just completely on spice tonight?
I don't remember that. I remember at the end of the episode when they came back, there was a guy leaning against a crate who didn't look familiar, but it looked like he was watching.
No, this is the very beginning. I'm going to give you the time. I'll give you guys the time mark so you can go back and look at it and just tell me I'm dumb and I shouldn't be thinking this way. It is. Okay, here it is. They're coming out of the ship. They're walking. They're heading, and it is... Oh, there's another Gotal, by the way. There were actually 3 Gotals in this one. I counted all 3 of them. But this is at the... Here they come. Sorry, this doesn't make for good radio by any means, but it is important to me because I really feel like they hid this person in there. All right. Maybe it was at the very end. Wait, was this guy that you were talking about leaning on a pillar, or was he leaning on a bunch of a stack?
Like a stack of crates or something like that. Maybe it was at the beginning. I can't remember what the character looked like, but we'll have to go back and we'll clarify this and we'll post about it on Discord.
Yeah, I may be just smoking spice, like I said, but all right. So they get in there, and now Sid's place is like crazy busy, like the busiest.
Like Echo calling it like it is. This place is popular,
right? I mean, it hasn't been this busy since, Omega got over on the entire town and swindled all their money out of their pockets.
Right.
And there's that poor guard that tries to stop Hunter from coming in, and he just beats the crap out of him, which I thought was pretty hilarious. Mm-hmm. But inside there, we've got, more guards. We meet this Deveronian named Roland Durand, who we're going to get into in just a little bit. We get to meet Ruby again, the snail reptile thing that Steph doesn't remember. And that was from the episode Battle Scars. And it's just in that opening scene very quickly. They talk about how they're taking that, but it was stolen from someone else and some of that effect. Right. So, it was nice that that came back again. That's, Dave Filoni laying the seeds out there. But when they go into Sid's office, this is where they meet Roland Durand, and Durand, tells him that, hey, this is his place now. Like, not only is he claiming the parlor, but he's actually claiming all of Ord Mantell, which I was like, okay, wait, so they don't have like a police force on Ord Mantell, or nobody? I mean, what is that society like? Is it just kind of every man for themselves, you think?
It sure seems like it, right? It seems very almost nomadic in a certain way, where people just mind their own business and they have local shops and whatnot, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of whole structure to the place.
Mm-hmm.
And but then again, this is Star Wars, and it was convenient. So sometimes it's just that as simple as that. But it didn't really seem to have a lot of structure. But Tatooine was a bit like that too, right? There was no, aside from the Empire's presence, we never got an idea that there was any kind of security or military or organization, government, things like that. So it's not necessarily surprising that a place like this, that wants to be forgotten, but is, kind of effectively it could potentially be a huge trade hub rather than just a smuggling hub.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a bit surprising it doesn't have a lot more to it, given the importance that we learn about it from Sid later.
Yeah, right. No, it's a good point. Like you would think they would have something there as busy as this place is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he explains that look, Sid's out, and this is his place now. And I don't know. I mean, they do touch on this a little bit. At least Mega does. But Hunter's like, well, see you later.
Yeah.
We're leaving. We're packing it up. Roll them up, kids. We're getting out of here. And I guess Roland even offers to kind of hire him because he sees them as mercenaries, or maybe he knows the relationship they had with Sid. And Hunter gives them the same response that I think he gave Sid back when she offered. He said, "Well, think about it," kind of thing. And so they decide they're going to go ahead and leave Ord Mantell. And then this is where Tech kind of explains in not so nice terms that that either she's been forced out or she's been killed.
Mega wasn't sure what it meant exactly when it said that she was out.
For him to be out. He's got a pretty good presence. I guess I'm not poking holes in this because again, if there's no police force or guards or anything like that, and he brings in a ton of people, I guess it's probably okay. It makes sense that he would kind of be able to take over like this. But I did find it interesting that Hunter, of all people, and I know they've had a precarious relationship with Sid, but he was just very much ready to just kind of bust out of there and take off. Did you find that weird at all?
Actually, no, not really, because Hunter is always still, squad first, and Sid is second. And I think he's been kind of looking for an excuse to get out. And they've started treating this like, so it was funny when you were talking about when we see Ord Mantell and just how we view it. When I saw it, I was like, oh, we're home. And it's almost weird thinking about the Bad Batch having a home, not even a home base, but it's actually becoming almost a home of sorts. And so that was a little bit odd to think of it that way. But I think he's itching to get out of the limelight and stop doing jobs, and stop being at someone else's beck and call. I don't think he really particularly likes the way that Sid treats him, because she's, pretty crass and she likes to give them a hard time and whatnot. But and she probably doesn't pay overly well, but it's hard to tell in that regard. She definitely takes her cut. But I don't know that he's really, I don't think there's no love lost. I think he's semi-appreciative, but at the same time, he's like, well, if she's gone, I think he thought maybe she bailed too, that she went off world.
Right.
Not that she would have snuck up onto the ship. But as usual, though, Omega's the one that says, wait, we need to stay and find her. She's done all these great things for us. And it's, well, but she kind of bailed them out. But has she really done a lot of great things for them? And they've kind of helped her out at times too, right? So but clearly Omega has a soft spot for Sid. Well, she has a soft spot in general, but I think she's got a soft spot for Sid now too, given that they've bonded a little bit based on that episode a couple weeks ago. Yeah,
and I think the, part of it is just kind of her naivete, right? She's a kid, and we all have gone through this phase of seeing people, always trying to see the good in people, and that's just kind of Omega. I'm not saying that that's not her. I think that's her genuinely. She is a very compassionate, very selfless person, right? Almost like to the point of like a Leia or like a Rey in some ways. So I don't think it's uncharacteristic of her to think that, and I would expect her to kind of be the one. You make a good point. Hunter is really focused on ensuring that, like he told Rex, or he told a number of other people, hey, I've got my own squad I've got to look after. He can't be worrying about this stuff. And if this presence is there, the last thing he wants to do is get tied up with the underground, right? He's probably thinking we need to get out of here and go figure out what our next plans are.
Yeah. And actually lay low, like we keep saying we're going to.
Right. And change your outfits, please.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, so they get out to the Havoc Marauder, about to head out, and lo and behold, there's Sid waiting for them, and she tells them to come inside, and I think she's the one that acknowledges that, well, thanks, at least Omega cares about me, not like you scrubs here.
Right.
Get inside, and then I was just dying because Bolo and Ketch are inside there. Of all people, like they can't, wherever Sid is, they are too. Of course, they were part of the bigger plan here that they've got a little bit later, but I just thought it was funny when they walked in that they were.
Right.
I think they were playing games too, like playing Sabic or whatever they were doing at the time. And so Sid kind of explains what's happened, right? Roland Duran's the son of this crime boss named Issa Durand, who I think we're going to see a lot of in season 2 as well. He's partnered with the Pikes, and he's taken over Ord Mantell because it is a galactic port city. They've got a lot of different ships coming and going. It's kind of a big harbor kind of thing, and it makes sense that he does that so that way he can have some influence over the way stuff is coming and going, and he can start taxing it. Whatever crime lords and drug dealers do in Star Wars land there.
It's medicinal.
Oh, that's right.
Spice is medicinal. You forgot.
It was. It never used to be. And then there was the whole thing in Solo with like, they were doing it for, it was spice mines, but they were there for the Calaxium. I don't know.
Star Wars is confusing sometimes.
It really is. And so she kind of like, she leverages the secret of knowing who they are to kind of get them to help, which kind of goes back to your point. It's like, okay, if I'm Hunter, I'm thinking, man, this, she's constantly holding this over our heads now and just using it to bait us to do things, right? It's extortion in the simplest form. But she's got a plan. She wants to get them to, she says Roland's going to be selling some of the spice that's stored in Sid's old back office. And the plan is to go in there, steal the spice. That way he's going to be, he's going to have to report to the Pikes
empty-handed when the Pikes show up, and they don't tolerate no results like this. Yeah.
Right. No spice, no money, nothing. Right. And so that's the plan, is to steal all this, which I guess is fine. It makes sense. And they, of course, go along with it. Excuse me. And she mentions that they start walking through the city again. Oh, and I think that's the scene. Now that I just said all that, I think that's where the scene comes up. Enough about that. I'll bring that up a little bit later. But they make their way over to this hatch, and this hatch goes down into the old mining tunnels where they have these mining carts that are kind of located. And this is where I think the visuals are really great. Again, we talked about it being, it's very dark. There's a lot of blacks and that sort of thing. But if you turn the lights off, and maybe you shouldn't have to do that, there's a lot of eye candy here for me.
Really is. This is a great scene.
Yeah.
Art and everything else. I don't really have anything else to say, but it's just great. I did pause it and just looked at it for a little while today.
Right. So the plan is to go take these mine carts, go under Ord Mantell, at least out to the city, then go through the underground of Ord Mantell and come up in Sid's back office area, take the spice and get out of there. Tech, he offers to repair the carts, and she's like, no, we can't repair the carts because they got to be stealthy. And she's like, makes a comment about them being pretty good at that, or they should be good at that. She calls it a stealth mission at that point. And that they have to do these manually. And then from this point on, it is very, like, for me, I was getting shades of like Temple of Doom.
Yeah.
Whether the mine carts, I was like, oh boy, this is gonna be great. We're gonna have like a mine cart race kind of thing, as we had in that movie, and we didn't really have something to that extent. There was one there, which I thought was great. And so, everything's pretty straightforward. They're kind of going to the mines, and they come up on that first door. And this is where she tells them that, from this point on, this cave has been closed up because of the infestation problem, and that they have to be really quiet as they're kind of going through this section here. And I thought they did a good job of building up the suspense here. Mm-hmm. I don't know, and I don't want to jump ahead, but I just want to get your quick thoughts on the bugs, because I get it. They were annoying. They showed that they could lift people up, and you had the risk of falling down, but I never even got to, I don't know that I got to see them. Like, I couldn't tell you what they look like.
I tried to, so when I was doing the artwork for the show this week, I was trying to get a shot of one, because Hunter has one right up on him and there's light, but they're really difficult. I think the best look we actually get at them is when Tech has it on his pad. But they're quite large though. They're probably about half to 2/3 the size of a person. They're quite large because they were able to knock over the rail cars and knock them off their tracks when they were, like you were saying, when they came back and chased them. But I agree with you. The suspense on this was good, especially when Wrecker drops the torch, down of course, with the beautiful graphics as it kind of goes down there, the animation. But it was just the ability for him to, or for, I don't know, all those sounds, and then for it not to happen. Of course, we knew it was going to happen on the way back, but that the suspense was there. I mean, they did a really good job of building that up, and I think setting the scene like that, the way they had it, was really well done.
So you're gonna call it a torch now?
Yep, I'm gonna call it a torch now too. I'm gonna ask Kevin Scott. He's gonna tell you it's a torch too.
Oh, he's gonna tell you it's a torch.
Yeah,
I'll get that out on Twitter here soon. I thought I agreed on all of those points. I mean, the lighting, the shrieking noises you could hear there. When he dropped the flashlight, there was it was 100% like Lord of the Rings. Like, it was right out of Tolkien, and it was short of fool of a took, and Gandalf saying that when that thing fell over.
Right.
That was kind of in there, and I got to think that was probably an homage to that particular scene. But anyway, so they make their way through that. I did feel like, I don't know, like I would have wanted the bugs to come out there because there was enough tension built up. Mm-hmm. I don't mind that they did come back later, like it was on the return that we got to see them, because that certainly played into the whole chase sequence and all of that. So I didn't mind it so much, but I did feel like it was almost like Jurassic Park, right? Like when they first introduced the T-Rex, and they get there and they're building it up, and we'd all seen the trailer already, and that first time they come up on it and it doesn't come out, and they kind of keep going. You're like, oh well, that was anticlimactic, but it paid off, of course, later on, because we got the scene that we got. All right, that wasn't in the show notes. I just thought about that right now. They make their way up into I guess the actual ladder that goes up to Sid's, and I was laughing because Wrecker is like winded, like he's completely,
that guy's out of shape in this episode. Yeah, really constantly is. He's out of. Yeah, I mean, she even gives him a hard time later on. You can rest later. What's wrong with you, big guy? Yep.
But yeah, he was winded, and she was like, on the return, I think it was her and Tech that were moving doing the hand cart. But I could have sworn it was only her on the way out. Maybe I could be wrong, but either way, I thought it was funnier. I think it's funnier if she was not winded and he was, given he is who he is. Yeah, Riss says it's all that Mantel mix. That's probably it. Putting on the extra
That's right.
pounds. I can relate, man. I've had a lot of Mantel mix here lately, by the way.
It's the Mantel 10.
Mantel 10. We get into Sid's, and so this is where Ketch and what's the other guy's name? Fonzo. I knew you were going to try to get that name in there again. But Ketch gets the signal from Sid, Bolo, that it's go time, and they've got their little plan. So their whole lot in this plan is to start a distraction of some sort. And so I think it's Ketch that walks by. He's chomping down the Mantel mix. He walks by Ruby, starts dropping some. Ruby follows him out of the parlor itself, and that's enough to get Roland and his guards out there as well, looking for, which I kind of seems like plausible, right?
Worked well enough.
Yeah, worked well enough.
It was very Ocean's 11 type of thing.
I wish they would have filmed it that way, like some of the cutscenes and stuff. But they get the they run out there, and this is where they come in. There's a total of 6. So the Bad Batch come up to this little chamber or whatever is hatched down in the floor there, and there's 6 crates. Of Coke is what it looked like. They're pulling like the packages and everything.
I'm sure it was just coffee. Just coffee. Yeah. But 6 of these big crates are about the size of what Han was loading up at the end of A New Hope. There was full of money. Same type of thing, right?
Yeah.
But they're all nicely packaged up, like bags of sugar. I'm sure is all it was.
All it was. It's oregano.
Italian mix.
Yep. And we got to see Echo use his screwdriver arm again. Like,
he saves the day, man. He was a hero.
He was.
He's like, I've got an idea. I'm going to jab my thing into the wall, and I'm going to lock the door. Yeah.
And he does get to use it.
He does.
Man, I wish they would do more with Echo. Like, with 3 episodes left, like, man, it feels like, okay.
He's been like the, this sounds really harsh, but like the biggest disappointment that they've just not done as much with him.
Yeah.
Kind of sort of where we left him in Clone Wars. It's just really, really disappointing. Really disappointing.
It is. It is for me too. I'm trying not to think about it because at least he's there, right? And we get to see him. But I mean, you think about if you were to watch all of the Clone Wars episodes, back to back with Echo and that whole storyline, and then come into this, totally different.
Yeah,
like night and day different.
Yeah, I mean, this is like Rose all over again. Kind of like Rose. I mean, maybe not quite that severe, but still, it's just I'm hoping. So if you're right, if there's a second season, I really do hope that Echo has more time in the sun. Because I mean, even Tech and Wrecker, who all things considered, really shouldn't be the most interesting of characters, have had their moments, right, where they're enjoying. They Wrecker with Omega, Tech just with the idle, weird humor type of thing, and Echo's just like the grumpy old man on the lawn, like yelling at the kids as they walk by.
Yeah.
And that's about the extent of it. At least Crosshair's got a toothpick. I mean, he's unique, but it's really disappointing what they've not done with Echo.
Yeah. Yeah. He's like, did we say he was the Rondo of this episode? Like he's old, losing his hair, yelling at kids on the lawn kind of thing.
I think so. Get on out here.
Tuan says he's already had his arc. Maybe.
You can't have more than one.
Well, maybe.
How many does Anakin and Vader get?
Well, that's the same argument when people say, "I really wish we had a Darth Vader series." I'm like
another one?
We have 6 movies. What do you want? We have a comic book and 6 movies. We've had a lot of Anakin, believe it or not.
You are going to get another Vader series.
No, we are.
Called Kenobi.
It's called Kenobi, exactly.
Right.
Oh man, the rumor. Oh, never mind. some of the leaks that are happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
And all right, back to the show. Roland notices that they finally get through the doors. Notices the spice is gone, and sends his boys down in there after the Bad Batches are trying to get away. And this is where we get into the whole mine tunnel chase sequence here, which I was trying to keep track of, like the number of carts. It turns out there were 3 carts, not just 2. It looked like there was only 2. I think there was a total
4. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, are there really? Then
because they had 2, and then the other 2 guys had 2. The bad guys had 2.
Oh no, I'm saying the bad guys had a total of 3.
Oh, did they?
Yes.
Oh. Okay. I only noticed 2. I know
I'm
one
like
guy.
90% confident in that answer, but yes, 3 carts for the bad guys, 2 for the good guys. So they jump into the carts, and they use their engines. Like they don't even care because they obviously they don't know what's going on down there, right? So they're going to use theirs. So Hunter slams the brakes on the first cart, and that sends that cart that rams into the back. It sends those 3 flying off. Okay, so that's one cart. And then they send that empty cart going back in reverse, and that hits the second cart, and those 3 guys fly out. And then the third cart is the one that have the guys that they open fire on, or I guess that are part of the sequence here. And that's when the swarm comes in. The swarm is what ends up killing the people in that third cart. I think they lift a piece of the cart off, and
they picked it up and knocked it over, and that was the thing. They kind of looked like they were picking up the guys too. Like it was difficult to tell with all the motion, but it was a little surprising that the Bad Batch was able to not experience some of the same thing.
Yeah, well, they're heroes. They wait.
That's true.
And Tech realizes at this point, and I don't want to make short of the whole sequence because, again, visually, the audio in this was really cool. I mean, if you put in headphones on, or just any headphones really, versus just listening to it from your TV, unless you've got a great sound system, you kind of miss a lot of the details, and just the swarm itself was pretty cool to listen to.
Right. But again, at the end of the day, it was just literally swarming things around, and they had to escape. So it was...
Yeah, it was like 3PO. Oh, shoot, go.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Shoot, go away.
Go away. There's where Tech... Oh, it sounded real southern there. Tech then pulls out his torch, flashlight, and realizes that they're sensitive to light. And I think Echo gives him a long explanation. Tech later on gives a really scientific reason as to why. But that's enough for them to realize that the flashlights are a bother to them. And they end up dumping the spice. It ends up falling, and they don't go back for it here. It just they abandon it at that point, which I think makes sense. I mean, they had no reason to do anything with it other than just get it out of Roland's hands.
Right.
So there wasn't anything for them in going in and trying to,
it was never part of
cover
the plan to keep it and do something with it.
Sure.
At least Sid wasn't giving them that part of information.
Street value, though.
Yeah, true. But she's on the up and up. She doesn't do that kind of stuff.
Oh, right. Wrecker, they finally get through, and that's where Wrecker kind of slams the lid shut and kind of closes up the infestation.
Yeah, with a nice green squirt.
Yep.
It's delicious.
Yep. It was really good. We get back to Sid's office, and Bolo and Ketch have been caught. They're being interrogated, and they totally rat her out. Like, they don't even,
Nope.
try to put up anything. They're just like, yeah, no, man, she made us do this, and this is how she is, and we told you this is how she was.
Not surprised, though.
Really? I don't know. I thought they were
Ketch in particular? No, that guy's a coward.
He is?
Yeah. He just saving his own skin.
We get the Pikes at this point, and I really like the animation on the Pikes. I've always have.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get into more on this on the Patreon too, but I mean, they're here for a very definitive reason outside of the story itself. But this is where they kind of roll up, and they're like, hey, they want their payment, and Roland says, hey, I'll get you the spice back. I just need some time. And they basically threaten him with his life at this point and saying, hey, you're not much use to us now. You don't have spice. You don't have the payment for it. So, what good are you?
Exactly.
And then, so Roland, the guards pull their blasters out. Once they feel threatened at that point, there's kind of a standoff there. And this is where I think this is a good part here. He says the Pikes then threaten Roland and his entire family with pain and death after Roland tells them to go back to Obadiah, right? He kind of says go back to Obadiah, which that was where we saw them in season 7 of the Clone Wars, where the Martez sisters went out there and visited them. And so I think at that point he realizes he's probably overstepped, or he's overstepping. He kind of lowers his blaster, and he gives up at that point. Now the Pikes they're pretty intimidating.
Yeah, they're pretty intense.
They are. And we'll get into some of that. I mean, just kind of the origins there a little bit of where they came from, and Star Wars Underground and 1313 and all that. This is a lot of carryover from George Lucas, just to kind of put a really big bow on it, which I really think this is why we're seeing them here. We saw them in season 7. This is why we're seeing them here. They are definitely signaling that there's going to be more here later down the road.
Right.
We get back to the streets of Ord Mantell, and Sid and the Bad Batch are heading back to Sid's office. And I think this is the part where that scene's at.
Oh, well, there was just a bunch of bodies on the ground in this one.
I know. Well, it's like they wiped everybody out. Like Sid's group killed, or not Sid, Roland, or sorry, the Pikes.
The Pikes.
Yeah, I mean, they went and just murdered all of. I'm assuming they're all dead. They may not be.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if it was a ruse or if they were actually taken out.
Yeah.
But regardless, if she was feeling pretty good about herself, that see, problem. This is even better than I expected. Basically.
Yes. I know, and that was like that comment of hers was.
Yeah, Omega's totally cool with all this, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I guess she didn't see that. Yeah, I don't know. Where was Omega this entire time? Oh, no. She was with them. Yeah, we haven't got to that part yet.
Yeah, she was with them.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm looking at it right now. It's at the 15-minute, 44-second mark. If you go to 15:44, there is a guy that is standing there. He's in the shadows. He's front and center, like he's in front of the Bad Batch as they're walking by, and he's like listening and kind of like trying to hide himself from them. I'm telling you. And he's got a very unique look. He doesn't look like, like the models that you see of all the characters are always walking in the background. It's the same, and believe it or not, they just recycle these characters because they're ambience, right? You don't really pay attention to them unless you're like me. But those guys, he's not one of these. Like, he has a very unique outfit on. So it could be nothing. It could just be decided to spend the time. Yeah, 15:44. That's your mark. Please tell me if I'm crazy. And I've had it in the notes. Dang it, Jonesy. It's 15:44. Okay, so they're heading back in there, and this is made the comment about this is better than expected, and this is where the Pikes and Roland are coming out. And, they get this whole confrontation about the spice, and Sid denies that, to the Pike leader that, hey, we don't have this spice at all. And I don't know what you're kind of talking about here. And the leader says, well, I'm just going to kill you all, basically.
Right.
And it was really cool because in that moment, Hunter steps in front of Omega. If you're paying attention, he steps right in front of her. to kind of protect her. It's kind of a natural instinct kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
And
Get behind me type of thing. Same thing with Cad Bane.
Yeah, that's right. He did the same thing there too. So I like that they're being consistent there for sure. But so this is, I don't know. This is where I was just kind of like, really, they would go through with this? Maybe they didn't have a choice. I guess they don't. But the Pike says, "Hey, the child's going to stay here until you bring me back my spice." It's kind of like I don't know. I mean, I guess they didn't have really, again, any other choice. But I wouldn't have trusted the Pikes at all. I mean, these guys are really bad. I mean, like they're making them out to be the bad of the bad and some really terrible people. So what's to say that they would have not killed her or done that? But I mean, they didn't. I mean, they seem to be honorable, at least from that regard.
Yeah, and then for Sid to kind of stick up for them in that kind of way just seemed very odd. That she was going to be the one to negotiate, and that they're going to be, Omega's going to be fine. Really, you sure about that?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm with you. I wouldn't trust them as far as their little, whatever they were hanging off the bottom of their face would go. Things are so weird to look at. I mean, they're great, but they're weird.
Yeah, they are weird.
They're little teeny tiny faces.
Mm-hmm. Also, by the way, when they pull their blasters out, Tech's a lefty.
Yeah.
Are you left-handed?
No, semi-ambidextrous, but no.
Oh, well, excuse me, sir. They're no, so he's a left-hander, and then I put in here that Echo is a left-hander too. Not by choice. He was right-handed, but he had a little accident. Now he's
that's right. You learn a lot if you.
I'm telling you,
don't
they
have
need
a
to
choice.
give him like a blaster attachment. That'd be awesome. Yeah. So this is where Sid says, "I'll handle it," like you said. I don't know that she was the right person. It was a funny scene where she's like, "If I may," or something like that.
Right. That was kind
of cute. So the new plan here is they're going to return the spice, and she trusts the Pikes enough with Omega, but they need to go back and get the spice at this point. And she makes a comment about, "Hey, look, I got the kid into this mess, and I'm the one to kind of get her out," which I think was great. Like, this makes sense to me. Omega has shown her time and time. I mean, they have a relationship. They've established that they have a relationship because of the time they spent together. But then you've got, Omega being the only person sticking up for Sid, and this is kind of an opportunity for her to return that. I think it does more than that, though, at the end of this episode. Well, we'll get to that here in a little bit, but I think it does more than that going forward. I think the relationship between the Bad Batch and Sid are very different from this point on, if Sid continues to be a part of this season.
Yeah, we keep thinking that the relationship's going to, grow into something, but it just keeps not. And I think I'm okay with that. I think for Sid, it makes a lot of sense to continue to not depend on really anybody else. They're all just hired hands and not get too close to anybody. But it was telling, though, that she felt responsible for Omega and wasn't going to just turn her back on her. And, that she did have, I don't know if I'd call it a soft spot, but she actually knew what was right to do for the kid.
Yep. Tuan says, Echo needs one of those energy axes like Optimus Prime has. Absolutely. And
everybody should be more like Optimus Prime anyway.
When he breaks that out, they need to cue up "You Got the Touch" by Stan Bush. You got the touch.
You get the Matrix of Power out.
Yep. That'd be awesome.
Matrix of Leadership, whatever it's called. I watched a lot of Transformers this past weekend. So War for Cybertron. Yeah. So shout out to Yakko, Jeremy, one of our Patreons. Somebody go check out War for Cybertron's trilogy. And it is freaking awesome. All right. Anyway, I can continue with Star Wars now.
It's about to turn into the basement here. Excuse me. I knew where I was at this point. So Tech comes out and he's like explaining the Earlings is what they're called. Mm-hmm. That they're nocturnal and sensitive to light. And again, he uses some real scientific jargon here about why that is, or why they're called that. This is where they get back in there and they get into the ship. Sorry, they get into Havoc Marauder, and they fly out to the place. And I thought they were going to go back into the mines and all that, but they like buckle up and gear up to head down into the mines by rappelling, which I thought was awesome because this was really cool. Like, we don't get to see enough rappelling, in my opinion, in Star Wars. But not only did we get to, spelunking, yeah. Not only did we get to see it, but it was Wrecker and, of all people, Sid. And we called this a long time ago. I think back in the, right when she pulled the bow out for Omega, when she grabbed that bow and fired some shots off, we're like, okay, she's seen some stuff, right? Mm-hmm. She's not a helpless bartender. She's been in wars. She's probably knows a lot of things. I think we joked that she was kind of like a Maz Kanata, only not as creepy. But yeah, I think she definitely proved herself here that she's had some experience and seen quite a bit of war in her time, which I think is interesting in itself. But I thought it was cool that she and Wrecker were able to kind of rappel down there to go pick up and retrieve the spice crates.
And that she was the one to go down and do it too, I think was pretty telling. She just didn't tell them to go in there, to go out there and do it. It's good. I like it when people get their hands dirty, especially when she's kind of the cause of all this, or this part of it at the very least.
Yeah.
And that is the same guy, by the way. So I did refamiliarize myself with that scene. That is the guy I was talking about, just leaning back.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not in the bar. It's outside the bar.
Yeah, it is outside the bar.
Yeah. But yeah, it's very odd. Yeah, kind of a reddish skin person.
Dale says that's the jeans guy from The Mandalorian. He's back.
He was also the one holding the boom arm that got in the scene, got fired. Now he's hanging out in Rory Mentel.
Yeah, he says it's going to be edited out tomorrow. He's probably already been edited out. So, yeah, no, I there's something about him. I don't know what it is. Okay. Yeah, so they attach the spice crates. They kind of give a little tug on the rope to let them know that it's time to pull them up, and they start pulling them up. And again, visuals here and all that. This is where you really get to see the particles kind of floating around the light and all. We quickly go back over to Sid's parlor, and this is where we see Omega and Roland are bound. They're waiting there. This is a pretty good scene for me. I mean, it was kind of short and quick, but I really enjoyed this. Like anytime Omega has like these one-on-one scenes with somebody, like they really are great stuff. And I don't know if that's a tribute to the writing itself or the character of Omega or the way they get these moments. But this was a character moment for both of them, because I think this is, if it plays into, again, some of the theories I have for season 2, I think this is where a lot of this is going to be based on. This is the founding of it. But, Roland sees Omega like looking at that blaster. He doesn't have to say anything. He could have let her do it and let them just kill her, but he chose not to. He warns her, hey, don't do that. You're going to get you're both going to get us both killed if you do.
Right.
And he makes that comment. He makes another comment here, and this is definitely in the Patreon. But he says, "You take what the Durand way is. You take what you want. That's a Durand way," is what he says. Mm-hmm. And for them to throw a line like that with 3 episodes left in the season, it doesn't make sense, right? That seems like that has some weight. It's going to have some weight later down the road. Do you think so as well?
No, honestly, not really. But I don't know. It's hard to say no to anything, right? I'm just being devil's advocate now. I think it's definitely something. If they come back, we're going to learn what the Durand way, or what. I think it's more like, what does Issa Durand actually, like? Who is she, and what does she represent, and like, what is the family's power and play and everything, right? I think that's kind of the carrot in all of this that would be interesting to see, is that if we do get to revisit them, actually see what the influence of this family is, because the Pikes sure don't seem to be overly concerned with the Durand family, but Roland seems to think very highly of it. But again, there seems to be some, mother-son issues here too, and trying to prove himself to the family, and she seems to be a bit ruthless. So I think they tease that pretty well, though. And again, he was just really defeated, though, too, in that I think he know if Omega took the gun that he would likely get killed too, and he was not quite ready to die, although he was more or less giving up. But yeah, I agree with you. When Omega has a scene with people directly, they do seem to be very good. And then of course Ruby comes up too, and he reacts a little bit differently than that. It's Ruby doesn't like very many people, and so is he kind of have a soft spot for Omega now because Ruby, and that she later on she semi sticks up for him too, right? So it's there's something there, and he's just out there trying to prove himself and not really doing a great job of it.
Well, he seems very defeated, like you said.
He seems very new at this, all in general.
Yeah, like
just bit off more than he could chew.
I mean, he's probably riding the coattails of his mother, right? If she is this prominent,
trying to differentiate himself from the family, I think, at this point too, right?
Yeah,
prove his worth and prove that he can have his own, piece of that empire as well.
I want to get into, and again, not in this episode because it's Patreon, but I do want to get into. I got a sense of shame from him when he's sitting there and talking about this, and well, We'll elaborate on that. But there's definitely something about him in this scene that's a little different. And I just haven't put my finger on it 100% just yet. So
Yeah.
maybe through the course of talking about it, I will. But yeah, Ruby crawls into Omega's lap. Roland looks over, notices that, and she tells Ruby, "Don't worry, we'll get out of this," kind of thing. So I mean, again, it's just that purity of her, the compassion of her, right, and just trying to keep everybody calm and moving forward. I mean, that's kind of Omega's thing, and she's very genuine about it. Again, as always.
Right.
We flip back over into the mines again. They've got 4 crates lifted up. Echo mentions it's almost nighttime, and that you see Tech in the background. He's working on some kind of what turns out to be a
looked like a seismic charge.
It looked like a seismic charge. It would have been cool if he would have just dropped that and then it just got silent and then and wiped them all out. But yeah, there's they got the last 2 crates. They jump on. Sid and Wrecker jump onto those crates. They get pulled up, and this is where it's funny. The audio description says that Wrecker hits the crate.
Oh, no.
And it's
totally
not.
Sid.
It's it's totally Sid. So I think that was one of the ones where they changed it, which I think which was better because Wrecker took enough. He took a beating this episode in a lot of different ways, physically and verbally. But yeah, it's Sid of all people. It's hers, and that's not her fault. It's not like she's controlling it. They're just pulling her up.
Right.
But they hit that crate, and that goes down. He makes a comment about maybe they didn't hear it, which I thought was funny because it's he's trying to deny that those things are not going to come up, and they do. The Earlings show up. They begin to swarm, and things get really hairy there for a minute. I don't know. We've already talked about this, but just I really wish there was more of a. They didn't feel like they were in a lot of danger here.
Yeah, not really.
I mean, it's just they were like bugs, and it's like I get it. I mean, they close this off for a reason. She's aware of it. I mean, yeah, I get it. They can lift people up, but I was really hoping that they would get nicked or something would have happened to one of them where at the last minute Tech threw down his seismic charge and killed him or, shed the light.
Scared him off. Yeah, I agree with you. It didn't really feel like there was any kind of danger. Wrecker's going to have a heck of a cleaning bill on his armor because, I mean, he's coated with a lovely shade of green all over it now. But yeah, aside from that, it was literally they were just there for suspense, and just a little bit of excitement, but really not a whole lot to be worried about. I guess they could have got knocked over, and they do get swarmed. So I think those are all very real possibilities. But again, we knew Tech was working on something too, and so it made sense that he just go in there and save the day. And actually, I really like the lighting, the effect that we got though after the wide shot, the image we used for the title card for the artwork this week. With everything scattering from the from the flashbang, effectively with the ship being silhouetted there. I thought it was really cool, just visual as well, though.
Yeah. No, it was great. I mean, it kind of culminates in that, but that thing going off was, again, the lighting in there was pretty amazing stuff to see. And we get back to the hangar, and things kind of winding down here. But they return the spice back to the Pikes, and they tell the Bad Batch that the matter is resolved for them. It's not so much resolved for Durand, and I don't know that why would it not be for Durand? Like, they're the ones that stole the spice. Like, if anybody, like, Durand didn't do anything other than lose the spice, but they allowed, because it was returned by the thieves, that was okay, and nobody suffered any consequences.
Right.
But Roland gets his horn chopped off.
Yeah. So do you think it was that maybe the Pikes viewed it as, well, you were stealing from Durand, you didn't know it was ours, type of thing, although they can't be that dumb. But they viewed it as stealing from him. They didn't steal from them, the Pikes necessarily. They stole from Durand, but Durand was the one that lost it. He was the one that didn't take care of their shipment, and do what was necessary to secure it and make sure that they got it, and they didn't get it on time. But I'm with you though, that they would just say that we're kosher now, everything's copacetic. I don't quite understand that. Yeah. And then they punish him rather severely, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. That one's a little tough to kind of make sense of, because I would have thought they would have done something to them, like chopped off Omega's hand or something.
Yeah, but again, they kind of set that up though when they were in the parlor still though, and they like, well, if you get it, then we'll be all right, type of thing. But you know where it is, you go get it. Should be that hard. So I think as long as they were willing to do it, then maybe the Pikes just didn't care. But again, I think with Roland, they he was cocky though. He was getting a little bit arrogant. He was trying to bully them and push them around too, right? So I think some of it is more than the circumstances of it. It's just his attitude, the way that he was trying to, push his position. And they don't care who you are. You either deliver or you don't. And he clearly didn't, and he was being an ass about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that was important for them to make a statement as to who they're messing with, who he's messing with, and who he's really talking to, and probably need to have a little more respect for the Pikes.
Yeah, I I can get on board with that.
Best I got.
There's when they put his head down there on the crate, Mega screams out, "Don't! He made a mistake. That's all." Of course, she's trying to defend everybody here. She doesn't want to see anybody really fight if they can help it. But I think Sid's line was probably more interesting to me because it does speak to what you said earlier about are the Durant, who are they, right? And at least in Sid's mind, she says, "Hey, kill him, and you'll be starting a war with Issa Durand."
Yeah.
For her to make a statement like that, she may know something. She does. She knows something about the Durands themselves and what they're capable of, or at least the potential that they have. And I think that's enough between that, the line about, my mother and taking what you want, that kind of thing. It does feel like they're kind of putting the pieces in place to kind of set something a little bit later with them. But they say, we don't accept bad deals. And this is where they cut off Roland's right horn, which seems to be like this mark of shame. Like we've got so many characters like that in Star Wars of the Deveronians that are missing horns, which I don't know, maybe they're not very strong or what, but we got Vijago, I think he's got a horn missing. We got him. Right. Did what's his face from Mandalorian? Was his 2 horns missing? No, he had his.
No, he had his.
I'm thinking of Hellboy.
Right, yeah. What was his name? Start with a B. Blurg. There we go.
Berg. Circle gets the square. I'll take Jim J. Bullock for the block, please.
That's right. I was going to get there eventually.
Yep.
Yeah, but again, I think Sid's right, though. I mean, this is something you have to still remember that the Empire is lurking, and the Empire is there. They're not lurking. The Empire is there.
Mm-hmm.
And these organizations are trying to not only feel their way through it, but they're still trying to be productive. And the Empire is already making that more difficult, I'm sure. And so for them to then start turning on one another and to start a crime family war of sorts, both are super prideful, so they probably don't care to a certain extent. But given that the bringing attention to themselves from the Empire is probably not the thing that they want at all right now, and they just have to kind of check that a bit. But yeah, bad blood is there now, and but the fact that they kind of let Sid off the hook for some of this stuff is a bit surprising. And then that Durand just kind of bails too, like just turns tail and goes home type of thing is very strange to me.
Yeah, I don't know what he's leaving. I mean, this has gone horribly wrong for him, right? I mean, I think
lost. The point with shame and everything, I think, this is where you very much, I think, falls into that. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're right. I mean, there's a lot of shame here, even more than before, because insult to injury. They tell him the last thing they say to Roland is, it would be wise for our paths not to cross again. I think they're foreshadowing that. I mean, I think their paths are going to cross again. I think they have started a war, a syndicate war. I think that becomes the basis of a lot of this stuff. But we'll see. I mean, certainly, I don't think that's going to happen this season. And It could be this show, it could be a different show. Who knows? But they've at least seeded all of that.
Yeah, I mean that'll be the interesting thing to debate in the Patreon show is, what kind of response does this get from the Durand family if he goes home?
Mm-hmm.
Which presumably that's where he's going back to mom.
Yep, Mom, they hurt me.
But yeah, then Hunter, asks Omega, why'd you stick up for him? Why'd you stick your neck out for Roland? And she doesn't know. It's her superpower. She just speaks up. She's not afraid.
She's not afraid.
Yeah. I mean, but she has this heart, and she doesn't want people I think she said it a couple of times, right? When people make bad decisions, doesn't necessarily mean they're bad people, and she may see right through Roland, like, this is and maybe not. I mean, she's still a child, but that this is someone who's just trying to prove something to himself, to his family, make a name for himself, and it's difficult. And, you just kind of see someone that's over the head. And he was so defeated when they were sitting there talking that she couldn't help but just feel bad for him. He's just out of his element here. It was just, he just bit off way more than he could actually handle. And she doesn't want to see people killed or hurt, I guess, in that way. And of course, they acted like they were going to behead him, of course, right? But I was a little bit surprised actually when they saw the knife come down. I was like, whoa,
where are they going here?
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, she does says when why did you help him? She says, I don't know. Ruby likes him. Maybe he's not all bad. I don't think he's all bad. And again, I know I keep saying this, but I want to get into that in the Patreon episode and talk about Roland Durand and just kind of where he is, because like he had an entire city under his control, a very prominent city in Ord Mantell now, right? Given where it stands, he had that under his control. He lost it. He had not only that, he's now got potentially a war that started with the Pikes. He's got to go tell his mom, explain what that's about. He's missing a horn, so he's been shamed in that way. I mean, it's almost like the Scarlet Letter in a lot of ways, right? He's got to walk around for life like this with only one horn. Maybe there's a prosthetic horn that he can buy. I mean, they did it for Echo. Why can't he do one?
Well, maybe they'll just give him a screwdriver
horn.
Right. But I mean, you did hear it wasn't resignation though. It was just awareness that, losing that horn, that's a small price to pay for when things go bad, when they're in the business that they're in, and what the lifestyle that they have with this, with the family, presumably.
Yeah, but take a pinky, take a toe. Why they take the horn? That's like, I mean, unless he's got a hood or a trucker cap, everybody's going to see that all the time. I mean, I get it. No,
I mean, all the more reason to do it, right? But
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but again, I mean, he at least is aware of it and just accepts it, and that, well, at least I survived to do this again, right? Mm-hmm. I got another horn. So,
Amber is touching on something that I have in my show notes. She says, "Wonder if Roland will come back and help out Omega at some point in the future as a result." And I think we talked about this at the very beginning of the episode, but I do believe that 100%. And like I said, I don't know if it's going to be this season. I mean, with 3 episodes left, all being tied together, at least 30 minutes long, there's the potential that they do pull in the Durands, and that's part of it. I don't know how they get there, but it's possible. I mean, that could happen this season. But if not, I think it's very likely that favor is going to be returned, and that line of maybe he's not all bad is definitely... I think Omega sees truly who he is. Maybe that's her special power. Maybe she has the ability to kind of see people who they are, kind of thing. But I do think that they're signaling that that's going to happen at some point.
I think it's very accurate as well. I think while he might not be a good guy, he might make the right decision, or might make a good decision when it matters with regard to Omega. I completely agree with that. I think it's something that Amber's probably right on the money about when we get to that.
Just read the comics here. Tuan says, "Meh, it'll grow back." No,
he's not.
Drago's never grew back. But that's it. I mean, the episode's there. I think Sid offers to take them.
First rounds. Yeah, first rounds. Echo and Tech. Well, Tech was all about it, man. They ran. I haven't seen these guys run so fast, but they were running to the bar.
Yeah. Well, who wouldn't, right? Bartender, bar owner tells you free drinks.
Right.
Unless you're Maz. There's probably a price to pay with those free drinks, especially if you're a Wookiee. So keep that.
Where's my boyfriend?
Where's my boyfriend? Creeper. Okay, final thoughts before we get out of here, I guess.
Yeah, this is one of those episodes where we have to wait to see if there's any kind of, we'll call it a payoff, but any kind of other development that happens as a result of this, the callback, right? It's where the goodwill that Omega built with Durand, maybe with the Durand family as a result, maybe that means something. Also, I'm really curious of what how Sid's parlor and all of that evolves or changes from here, because clearly she's susceptible, and how she's laying low from the Empire and stuff like that already is a bit surprising. And it just seems like she's now getting some attention as well. And I can't imagine that they're going to be able to stay hidden from Ord Mantell for very much longer. So we know Crosshair's on the hunt. Things could get pretty serious pretty quick if they find their home base or their home. But overall, I mean, enjoyable, not near as deep or the type of things we'd hope for in every episode, I suppose, but you're not going to get it every episode. But again, it was a good breather episode before. If we really do have a 3-episode arc coming, then it is a good kind of breath to take before we really get deep into it. But I think this has been the one like slightly disappointment about the Bad Batch series in general, is that we will have a really good episode. This is like the books all over again, with like New Jedi Order. Have a really good episode, and then we'll kind of take this really big step back where it feels like it's completely disjointed from everything that's going on. Not that it's bad, and there's some things we might get later on, but it's just not. It just feels like all of a sudden we just switched gears and we went to a lower gear, and we just kind of get this jerk motion. And then in an episode or two, then we kind of pick back up. What are you laughing about? Tech was thirsty.
No, I'm not laughing at that. I mean, that's funny. What Riss said. No, I was laughing because your punching bag is NJO every time. Like you go to me. Like,
what's funny is I love New Jedi Order, but I was what was it? 22 books.
Yeah,
they could have told that story.
They weren't all good.
They could have told that story in about 8 or 10.
I was gonna say 6, but yeah, I can go with 8 or 10.
Right, way less than 22. But yeah, I do like Cole's comment down there. Tech was thirsty.
Yeah, I don't know what for, but
right.
I don't know. Maybe he's got a thing for Sid. Oh, he means drinks. Never mind.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, I'm with you. I enjoyed the episode. It was. It did feel like a standalone episode, if you will. I hate to call it that.
That's a great way to put it. There you go.
I mean, I don't know if it really is, because it really felt like it was like the Battlescars Part 2, right? It was up against Battlescars 2 or Battlescars. It felt like Part 2 of that, but this episode could have landed anywhere in the series. It didn't have to be here, and I suspect that they did this to kind of break it up. You're coming off this 2-episode with Ryloth, going into a big 3-parter kind of thing. If that turns out to be true, they probably wanted to kind of just split things up. And this episode felt like, okay, we could move this anywhere we want to, and we need a breather. Just stick it here. Was it the right decision? I don't know. I think it depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for a comprehensive story where week after week everything is directly connected and you need to have everything wrapped up within one season or within an arc and all of that, then I think you're going to be disappointed. And you probably have been disappointed with a lot of, not just this, but with Rebels and Clone Wars and Resistance and The Mandalorian, because this is just the way Dave Filoni television works. And
it's how episodic television works in general.
No, you're 100% right. That's right. That's exactly how it works. You think about like Lost and X-Files and Breaking Bad and some of these really big series that had a lot of episodes in them where sometimes things were just there and they were standalones and they really didn't play into the bigger part of it. Or there were bits and pieces of it that became much more significant later down the road. This is just kind of like modern day storytelling.
Right. And
it's 16 episodes too. If it was like 8 episodes and this was in there, I would have been like, whoa, this is a waste. You know what I mean? But this is the long run. I mean, this is not a one and done. This is not like the Kenobi series, I think is like 6 episodes right now, or Mando at 8 episodes a piece. This is a pretty lengthy season. So it's expected to some extent, right?
Right. And again, I think we put so much into it because it's the one thing we have right now on screen, that when you get something that feels a bit uneven, it's easy to be very critical of it.
Sure. And
again, we've had this before though. We were like, oh, this kind of feels like filler. And then the next episode we get, it does pull a few things from it. It did set up a couple of things. They might have been small, but I wouldn't call anything a payoff necessarily sometimes, but it still felt connected. And this one, it was just a bit uneven as far as where it fit. It could, like you said, just going anywhere, then it makes you kind of wonder, okay, well, did I stay up until 2 a.m. to watch that, or that type of thing, right? Yeah. So I think some of that's the investment that people have in some of the stuff. They want to have that real, they want to be enthralled and really captured every time because they're so invested and they're going to wait until 2 a.m. to do it. But we'll see what next week brings. That's all we can do. And overall, still enjoyable though. Just maybe not the cream of the crop. I think definitely probably one of the lower. We have who is it? Darth Went likes to respond on our YouTube channel all the time, and he ranks all the episodes and he puts the new ranking in every single week. So if you ever in a day or so here, go out to the YouTube channel for the Cantina Cast, and you will see Darth Went's ranking of all of the episodes, and he will tell you where he put it in there and why. And it's a great read. So we appreciate you doing that every week, Darth Went.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to where this one ranks. from him, like his perspective on it.
Mm-hmm. Because he's had some surprises in there, actually. Some that we liked a little more, I don't think hit the mark with him, and a little bit, and vice versa from there. So it's not always a given to where everybody feels the same way about an episode. I think that's what's great about Star Wars in general. We all get something a little bit different out of it.
Space whales, Purgle. That's it. That's all I got.
All right.
Okay. You want to give any shout outs to everybody here that joined us tonight?
Yeah, lots of people on the chat tonight. Deo, Cole, Twan, JR, Amber. Oh my goodness, we had a number of people earlier today too. Steph, of course.
John MacArthur was new. I don't think he's been here before.
Right, yeah, John, that was a new one. Leland was here. Chris, Matthew Morand, Rob. So some of our Patreon friends and newer Patreon folks that we certainly appreciate you coming out. Again, we're going to do an after show. So you get another after show. We'll do that both video and audio. If you'd like to support the show, patreon.com/thecanteenacast. Just so it's easy to find. You can find all of our other back episodes out there too. What else we got here? Discord, discord.com or eargloommedia.com/discord. Wow. I'm always really railing on the guys. Like, how hard is it to remember eargloommedia.com/discord?
Yeah.
And then here I completely bungle it. So
discord.com. Well, you have to be fair, Jonesy, you've got to go there to get the apps.
But it's not even discord.com. It's just like discord.cc or something like that.
I'm trying to bail you out, dude.
I'll take it on the chin on this one. eargloommedia.com/discord. We've had a lot of cool chat. Of course, we've had film appraisers have been doing a lot of stuff as well. Joe is killing it with the whiskey podcast. We've had He-Man conversation with the new Masters of the Universe show that came out. And so just all sorts of things going on, a bunch of different directions in the different channels. So there's something for everyone out there. And so definitely come out and pay us a visit, and 100% free. Albert and I are out there. And if you're a Patreon member and you don't have access to the Cantina Cast Patreon channel, let us know so we can assign you access to it if it didn't give it to you automatically. We'll love to give you access to that special channel.
Yes. All right. Well, that's going to do it. We'll be back for episode 381, which would be Bad Batch episode number 13? 14?
14.
14 is the one we're on. Wow. Holy bananas. I never thought we'd be here, but
we're almost there. Yep.
We are almost there. So again, thanks to everybody, as Jonesy said, who joined us tonight. Thank you to all of our Patreon members who will be joining us for this next episode coming up. And Eric Rankins, thanks for your donation for the green milk tier. That's another person to watch the comic stuff that we're doing, which I'm pretty excited about. So I don't have you in the credits and just yet, but I will fix that for the next one. All right. Any final words?
Yeah, and War of the Bounty Hunters issue 2 came out, so yes. we'll start working on that one too, and see where our adventures of Boba Fett are taking us. I'm not doing all of the other comics though. I'm so sorry.
What, Jabba? That's the one I'm waiting for.
There's it's like 6 or 7 different books all happening at the same time. So I'm just going to follow the main arc.
All right.
We'll go from there. I know I cheaped out on it. Sorry.
All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you guys next week.
You're still listening? Wow, that's amazing. Well, I'm here to give you the disclaimer. Normally we do a big, long, drawn-out disclaimer thing saying what's what and who's what and all that other stuff, but I think you guys kind of know that Lucasfilm and Disney have no affiliation with us at all, and we have none with them. We talk about Star Wars, which is their property, and all that other good, fun stuff, but I think you can tell which is our stuff and which is their stuff. If you can't, well, then send a lawyer to send an email to me, and I'll be glad to chat with them. Other than that, you know what's what, so that's your disclaimer.